Just a word about our sponsor. Headquartered in Chennai, CAMS is a technology-enabled service solutions partner for the BFSI sector. Over the years, CAMS has been integral to building a credible reputation of the Indian financial infrastructure. Now co-owned by the NSE Strategic Investment Corporation Limited, a subsidiary of the National Stock Exchange, as well as HDFC Group and Axis Investments Private Limited. CAMS is the market-leading platform-based service partner to the mutual fund industry in India, serving over 62% of the assets under management that translate to 150 billion US dollars and 53 million investor accounts. Besides mutual fund services, CAMS has forayed to other BFSI segments, managing business processes for private equity funds, private insurance companies, private banks, and NBFCs. Also would like to announce to you the second workshop of the day on significantly grow your business, how your customers and prospects take decisions by Dave McCohan will begin at 1:30 p.m. at Kaveri 2 Hall. And also a quick reminder to tweet at us, post at us, and make some noise on social media. At TiECON Chennai and at TiECON Chennai 16 is where you ought to be on cyberspace today. As our last session before we head to refuel ourselves, we bring to you a fireside chat between an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur titled Me, 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 and Me. It speaks of the strengths of individuals and teams. There is a line in the Jungle Book that reads, "The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack." Here is how you build your team and build a formidable force for world domination. This session is brought to you by Synergita and Godrej Properties. Please welcome on stage Mr. Ganesh Chella and Mr. Ramesh Srinivasan.
Hi Ramesh.
Hi Ganesh.
Welcome. Delighted to be having this conversation together about a pretty interesting theme, team.many, and about what it takes for entrepreneurs to build organizations through teams. And I'm imagining that we will open up and do some straight talking, be candid, and talk about some of the problems that entrepreneurs face in building teams. If there are unicorns, I'm sure they're not here. They're busy raising their next round of money. So hopefully there are a lot of potential unicorns who might find value in knowing what it takes to build teams and what are some of the challenges, beliefs, mindsets which might come in the way of building teams. Before we start, I'd like to know a little bit about the vantage point from which you're going to be sharing your perspectives, Ramesh.
First of all, just a quick couple of things. Number one, wonderful to be here. I remember being here a couple of years ago 2014 and to just watch how Chennai has grown and how much better it is now than 2 years ago. Life is all about improvement. It's just fantastic to see. So congratulations to all of you. I'm very, very proud to be a Chennaiite #1 and to be associated with Chennai. So
Big
wonderful
thanks
to
for
be
that.
here. Thank you so much. So very quick background. I think most of you probably know. Went to IIT, IIM, worked in India for about 3-4 years after that. My life is now exactly half and half. The first 28 years was in India and the next 28 years in the US. So no marks for guessing how old I am now. So went to IIT, IIM and then worked here for about 3 years, management consulting and a foundry. Gave it all up, didn't want management, joined a small company called Infosys in December '87. And so don't start calculating my net worth now. I left Infosys very early, so don't make those calculations. So '88 went to the US, worked as a contract programmer, and then grew up the technical ladder and worked in a company called Manhattan Associates in Atlanta for 7 years, which is where my career grew again. And since then, I've been CEO of 3 different companies in the US. One of them was a billion with a B, publicly traded company. And then I was with an e-commerce fulfillment unit that merged with eBay Enterprise in 2015. And now I'm CEO of a Silicon Valley company called Uyala in intelligent video. We provide technology for online video. And I'm currently CEO of Uyala. So that's my quick background. I've not been an entrepreneur so far, just haven't had the good fortune of coming across an idea that I'm passionate about. Hopefully life will give me a chance. That I won't start a company just for the sake of starting a company, but if I come across an idea that I can throw my life at, there is every chance I might still be an entrepreneur again. But my vantage point is from companies which I've managed but not started. Yeah.
Okay.
But I've been in small companies, big
Sure.
companies, so I can give you that perspective.
All right, okay. And my vantage point, interesting, half and half, but not in India and the US, half my life working for organizations and half my life consulting, coaching, building organizations. And my vantage point is that I've worked with maybe 50, 60 entrepreneurs. I've coached many of them. I've consulted with a lot of them. I worked with venture capital companies. And in that sense, perhaps I've seen the underbelly of the entrepreneurial spirit and what some of the undoings are of building organizations, seen as many failures as I've seen success. So that's really hopefully the combination that we'll bring to the table. So I'd like to start by talking about the first potential trap that I find among many entrepreneurs, which is the belief that I can do it on my own. They may have a team of foot soldiers, or they may have normally a bunch of people, but the belief that I know it all, I just need a bunch of guys to execute. I don't really need another set of people who will bring an equally powerful point of view to counter what I have to say, and that is not necessary. Do you think that is a challenge, Ramesh?
Yeah, sure, Ganesh. And fair warning, Ganesh, today during the session, I'm going to make some controversial statements. Right? My objective is to leave you with a couple of impressions. I'm not going to be wishy-washy with my answers, right? And I may represent some 80-20 opinions as if they are 100-0. So be aware of that. It doesn't mean there are no pros and cons, but I kind of want to take a stand one way or the other. So in terms of building a team, number one, there is nothing wrong in running your company all alone. There's nothing wrong with that. If your company only requires an army of one, run it with an army of one. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You don't need to go build a team just for the sake of building a team. I'm not a believer in that. I'm a believer in hiring to the extent it is necessary, right? It is not necessary to get another point of view. If you have a clear conviction, a clear passion, you know how to get it done, go get it done. There's nothing wrong with that. And you will learn as you go along that you need another point of view and all that. I want to tell you one interesting incident. It was May 2000 when for the first time in my life I was promoted to a VP at Manhattan Associates. And I'm telling you, it's the saddest day of my life, right? I was really depressed and down. Because till then I was a programmer and also a manager. I had 15, 20 people reporting to me. I could get stuff done. I was the main problem solver. It felt good. You know, when a user came and asked me a question, I knew the answer before the question was done. So, you know, it was an enjoyable part of life, right? And then they promoted me to a VP at Manhattan. I knew that is the day I was going to become useless, right? Like, and now I'm a complete example of how useless a guy can be. Like, every answer I have to depend on somebody else, right? Whatever I delegate to someone else gets done faster than whatever I keep with myself. So I was sitting very depressed when the founder of Manhattan, Deepak Raghavan, walked in to congratulate me. And he said, "Why are you so down? Everybody is happy you got promoted to a VP." I said, "Deepak, today is when I start becoming useless, right? I'm going to become more and more hands-off." And he told me that day, he said, "Ramesh, you have two skills. You have technical skills, which we respect a lot, but that is limited by 24 hours a day. However good you are, whether you are President Obama, Prime Minister Modi, or Ramesh, you only have 24 hours a day. So your technical skills are limited by the amount of time you have, but you have leadership skills that are scalable. You can lead a 10-person team, 20-person team, 500-person team. So we have decided today we are choosing your leadership skills. Like that, in your career, you will face a stage when your leadership skills are more important by your technical skills.
Right.
Don't fight it, but don't go after it. When the time is right, you will hire the right people, you will do the right thing."
So what I hear you saying is, if it's okay to do something on your own, but if your business needs it, you must have that ability to go and build a team. And would it be fair to say that is the day when you transcend from just being an entrepreneur to becoming a leader because you're building a team?
Yeah,
Would that be a fair statement to say? I've seen that it's an important skill to be able to respect another point of view, because one of the challenges of getting bright people around you is to be ready to respect other points of view, to know that other people have answers, and that I need to live with some differences, and it's healthy for the business. Would that be a fair?
Absolutely. I mean, there is no question about it. So I would put all that under the fact that the most crucial thing you can be good at is being good at getting better, being good at improving. That is the most crucial skill you need as a leader, as an executive, as a programmer, as a marketing, as a salesperson. Life is all about getting better. That's all you can do. All you can do is make sure tomorrow you're a little better than you are today.
Sure.
In order to get better, you need input from others as well. You need to have an open mind. You need to be able to accept the fact, yes, I was wrong. I made a mistake. Respect for people who will come and tell you that you are an idiot, right? You made a wrong decision yesterday. So for me, life is all about continuous improvement, right? I don't know how good I am today, but I'll promise you, 3 months from now, I will be better. And for that, I need input from others.
Right. And one way of getting those inputs on a real-time basis is to be able to go out and hire good people. So I'd like to talk a little bit now about perhaps the most important thing of building a team, which is to even begin to think and contemplate about hiring good people. And oftentimes, I am confronted when I work with entrepreneurs with this belief that, listen, I don't think I'm too small to attract good people. I don't think anyone worthy would come and join me. Or if I'm not funded, I can't even afford it. So the question I want to ask you is, are there a bunch of competent, bright people who will still go and work for a small company? You did that yourself.
Yes.
You didn't go and work for a Fortune 10 company, right? You never did. You chose to work for companies which did something to you. What did they do to you?
I mean, I won't say I chose to work. I took the jobs I got. And an IBM or a Cognizant or an Apple has never been interested in me. So I took the jobs I got and did the best I could with them. But let me answer your question. The context of hiring, right? Where does it come from? In terms of my own personal experience, when I joined Manhattan Associates, it has, I don't know, 4,000, 5,000 people now. It had about 200, 250 people, was a $40 million annual revenue company. And it was April 1998, and you know how difficult 98, 99 was, the internet boom, how difficult it was to hire people. And here Manhattan was growing from 250 to 1,000 people. I was just one of the directors of services. They saw me interviewing people. They saw my interviewing style, and they suddenly announced, you're the only person responsible for technical recruitment for the next 2 years. Only one person, no other interviews. You could be my fellow director and somebody will land up in your team on Monday that you have not even seen.
Right.
So one guy who was recruiting, and at that time attracting talent, who the heck knew who Manhattan Associates was? And then today, Uyala, Silicon Valley, $80 million small company, you're competing against Google and Apple and all those top companies to hire talent. The smaller you are, the more you have to focus on picking diamonds in the rough. So don't believe all these stories about culture fit and communication skills and all that nonsense, right? Just focus on competence, technical skills. I focused only on technical skills. I didn't have a formula where I would ask a question, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? All these CEOs write on LinkedIn. The one question I always ask people, I can't stand all that. I try to understand that person from that person's point of view. What is it that person has accomplished? What kind of circumstances? And if I'm looking for a Java programmer or I'm looking for a marketing guy, what kind of competence they have? What have they accomplished in their lives for the opportunities they got, right? For whatever they did they carry something from here to there? And how good is their competence? I used to have written tests and all that, so I could judge aptitude. Focus on picking the diamonds in the rough. Those were the kinds of people we picked at Manhattan who would not get through an interview at whatever the big IBM, because IBM was going to look for communication skills, how well you wore your tie and all that. Well, I picked some, to be honest with you, some not so very good looking people, right? But they were diamonds in the rough. So the smaller you are, focus on competency, technical skills, and how good work they have done in their lives before, whether for 2 months or 20 years, and you will be able to build a very good team.
So one of the things I hear you saying is that if you can focus on those core essential stuff, you may still be able to hire as good people as you need. But there's something more to it. I've always found that as an entrepreneur, you need to sell yourself first to be attractive, right? I'm sure in Uyala, when you hire, the candidate in front of you is first evaluating you and saying, do I want to work for this guy? So would it not be important for the entrepreneur to be seen as someone people want to work for? Because sure, people have visited his LinkedIn site, maybe gone to Glassdoor and checked him out and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, if you want to check me out, don't go to Glassdoor. That is full of, I would have lost my cool in one meeting, and that's what they write about in Glassdoor, right? So all you can be in life is be authentic, be yourself. That's all you can be, right? There is just no other acting job that ever works, right? If somebody sees in you a sincere person, somebody sees in you for who you are,
right?
Somebody sees a company that is improving. If I could talk about what Uyala was in 2015 versus what Uyala is today, what are the steps we have taken to improve the company? That works. That typically works, right? If you're sincere about your idea, if you're sincere about articulating it, and it typically works. And it will work with the kind of people that you want anyway, right? If somebody wants to work at an IBM or an Apple, you're not going to get those kind of people.
Sure.
But being authentic and showing improvement, painting a clear vision as to where this company is going to be 3 years from now, all those fundamentals normally work. Now, if you are a totally new entrepreneur, like next week you are starting a company, you have to figure out a way of working with your friends and people who are close to you, who believe in you. Somebody in your previous job who has worked with you, who has seen you be successful, who is willing to bet a career on you, right? You need to depend on things like that. But as you grow up, if you're authentic, it's a sincere idea, you can show how far you have come in the last 6 months, I think it normally works, right?
So some sign of the fact that you're making progress, being genuine and congruent and not trying to pretend that you're somebody else, you're saying most often works. People do find that attractive. I agree with you. And quite often the first 100 people, 200 people you handpick, perhaps also become your ambassadors, right? They talk about their happy experiences and the fact that you're a good guy to work for, which is outside all the rule books about how do you hire people and motivate people and so on and so forth. Would that be true, that the experiences of the first 100 people, 200 people about working for you, and whether they are good ambassadors for the organization?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like, I have a general not so great liking for any kind of formulas, right?
Right.
So for me, hiring the third employee is as important as hiring the 4,600th employee, right? Recruitment is the most important thing you can do to a company, right? Either you're doing it yourself, if it is the third employee, or you have a process in your company with which you're hiring your 4,600th employee. You have to take recruitment seriously. And it is best not to be formulaic about it, because if you're very formulaic, then you don't get diversity. Then you get everybody who looks the same, everybody who acts the same. Try hard to understand that person's accomplishment, what they have achieved in life. And don't have any age formulas. Sometimes people with no experience, you could have a 22-year-old Albert Einstein who you don't take just because your job description takes minimum 6 years experience, right? Try not to have formulae in what you hire, and look for people who are humble, who are eager to learn, who can improve themselves, and you can make that out by the way they answer the questions. Do they take the blame on themselves? Something didn't go wrong something didn't go right in their previous life. Do they blame others? Or do they say that I should have done this better? There are various ways in which, both in terms of written test on a paper and also talking to a person, there are various ways you can figure that out. But I think hiring is important, whether it is the 100th employee or the 6,000th employee, right? So I wouldn't say that pay attention for the first 100 employees and then it will get better. It can deteriorate very fast.
Sure,
right?
sure. There's a lot of excitement among people on campuses about joining startups. I see that there is a premium of a lot of people saying, I don't want to work for these big companies any longer. I'm, nobody anonymous. I want to work for a startup. Is it because they think they'll become rich soon, or is it because they really want to do some good work, or they want to be a big fish in a small pond? What are you hearing when you speak to youngsters today about why they want to join startups? What's the truth?
I see youngsters of all kinds, right? There are millennials, and then there are millennials in Silicon Valley. I'm telling you, it's an entirely, different world altogether. There are some millennials who are astonished that they have not yet been voted president of America, right? They just can't believe the fact that I should be running the world now, and they are not. I've seen all kinds. I wouldn't again put it into a formula that millennials want to work for a startup. It is all a matter of whether they see their work being meaningful or not.
Okay.
It's all a matter of whether they find their work challenging, whether they find that the people they work with are challenging, which is why you should focus on recruitment. Because if you continue to build a company with good, great people who are all eager to improve, who all have respect for others, underestimate themselves. There's a certain category of people who are always pushing themselves forward. You give them that kind of an atmosphere, they like it. And for example, there are people who would not leave an Uyala to go join a Google. They just will not, right? Google is too big for them, and Uyala is the right size. And there are people who leave Uyala to join a startup. Now, the reason why you would join a startup is, number one, of course, is the equity percentage, right? You are trying to hit in the US, they would call it a home run. Here, you're trying to hit a sixer, right? You love playing a 20-20 match more than playing a test match, right? So there is, there are those kinds of people who like startups, right? Who like being in a small group, who like their contribution being immediately visible to the CEO. There are all kinds of people, right? I mean, there are absolutely all kinds of people among youngsters as well. But the reason why you would go to a startup is you're more adventurous, you want to be a big fish in a small pond, you don't like rules, right? You want flexibility, right? You don't like bureaucracy. The classic reasons, right? That shouldn't surprise anyone.
So some of the life themes of people who make those choices are people who like some level of autonomy, who like some recognition, who don't value too much structure, and who are looking for some meaningfulness. In addition, of course, if they can make some quick money, that's always good, right? When we speak about hiring and tech, and there are lots of tech people here, we cannot miss talking about acqui-hiring, right? The whole reason people become entrepreneurs is because they want to enjoy their autonomy, be on their own, do something. And then how does it fit in if that company gets acquired because somebody wants to build talent? Does it really work? I have a point of view, but I'd like to listen to your point. Yeah?
We'll listen to your point of view first, yeah.
You see a lot of companies getting funded, and then they're saying we raised the next round of money because we want to acquire another 6 companies to quickly build capability. I have a lot of worry about that. The whole reason someone become an entrepreneur is because he wanted to create something on his own, and then you make him an employee, give him a paycheck. I just don't think it works.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm not a big fan of acqui-hiring at all. No, I've never done that before. And for example, when Manhattan Associates has an India Development Center in Bangalore, and that has now grown to about 1,600 people. And 2002, I was personally responsible for starting that. Then I joined Bali in 2005, and I was again personally responsible for starting the development centers, Bangalore and Chennai. And yesterday, someone told me it's grown to 1,700 people, all without acqui-hiring, right? So acquiring a company just to hire talent is a very costly way of doing it. It's extremely costly to start with, capital investment wise. And also now, it's easier to hire a person and absorb them into a culture than take a group of 200 people and absorb them into a culture, right? It's just more difficult. So if I would acquire a company, it would be more for a product, not just for hiring. But again, like in business,